That I have sounds correct. Just give me a second. There's been quite a couple times when my volume has been low compared to the video, so I'm just going to do a quick test. Sounds correct. Just give me a second. Alright, sound seems okay on the video. So today we're going to be we're going to be starting with a intensive tank guide. This is going to be a tank guide for 4.0, so it's going to include all the new abilities. I'm also going to be going over some of the changes, so I hope you enjoy this. Again, if you like if the video helps you in any way, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to, build up my subscribers, of course. Anyways, let's go get this started. First of all, if you're unfamiliar with me, I've been playing Final Fantasy XIV since release, 2.0 release, back in August of 2014. 2013, putting me at 4 years in the game. My first class was a paladin, so I have been tanking for the whole time. I really enjoy tanking. It's a great role to play. It is definitely one that is hard for most, as you have to deal with a lot of trash talk to you if you screw up, and if you don't do it right, you're going to make a lot of people mad. This is a class that has to be played correctly. So, first of all, welcome to Team Tank. If you've chosen to be a tank, you're choosing a group of that most people don't play. And that's a big thing, because this is a class that is going to really be needed, as the more tanks we have, the more people can get in dungeons on their DPS. This means that I can play DPS when I want to play DPS, you can play DPS when you want to play DPS, everyone gets to play DPS. How my video's coming through? Is my video not coming through? Oh good, my video is coming through. Sorry, I'm double checking to make sure everything's going through. So, the fact that you're joining the group, congratulations. I want to go over some, sorry about that, I just want to make sure the video is going correctly. I want to go over some benefits of being a tank. First of all, money. If you're a tank, getting gil is easy. You can pop out 100k a day. That's because whenever you do a leveling roulette on your tank, at least every time I did a leveling roulette, I got a cluttered crystal cluster, the item you trade for level 6 material. And specific materials sell 400k, they sell like that. Every time you do a leveling roulette, you get that. So, benefit number one, money. I made enough from leveling all three of my tanks up that I finally bought my house, which I really do enjoy. Secondly, mounts. There are 6 different tank mounts. The first 3 are done from just doing full level parties. And that is the bear, the lion, and the panther, which is the black coral, right? With Stormblood, some newer tanks were added in, which was I believe the war bear, or the battle bear, the war panther, battle panther, and the war liner. It's war battle something. Just a better looking version of them. Now, I haven't got those yet, as it requires 300 level 61 or higher duties or your roulettes. As I'm working on leveling my classes currently, I haven't got it yet, but I am working on it. So, there's 6 mounts you can get. Pretty awesome. Quick queues. Instant queues. That's another nice benefit. You're not going to sit there for 16-20 minutes waiting for your queue to pop and be like, yeah, I spent half this game sitting there doing nothing. You get instant queues, which are great. You get to lead the party. You get to be the man who decides things. And that's the big thing to remember as a tank, is you decide everything. So you're going to decide the speed of the run. You're going to decide how much is going to be pulled. You're going to decide if you're skipping trash or taking trash. With that said, do be considerate. Remember that people don't want to be in a dungeon for 30 minutes, and if your confidence is so low that you can only pull one mob at a time, you need to watch this or any tank video that will teach you how to properly pull. You've got to find the correct quantity for the party. One pull is almost always a bad idea, as if your healer's not geared up, pulling an entire room is bad. So there's never reason to pull one pull at a time. You can at least pull 2 and do your party a favor. And you're never going to get better if you're only pulling 1 and not practicing the big pulls. So this leads us into category number 2, common problems with tanking, and this is what I've seen a lot. Now, I ran with lots of tanks that are new, and the problem number 1, not listening to someone who's been tanking for a long time. There are lots of people who've been tanking in this game. They've been tanking since 2.0. They know what they're supposed to do. They've raided, they've done the high-end raids, they've done Savage. They know how to do this. And so if you're new and you're running with somebody who knows how to tank and they're telling you to do something, you better do it, because it's gonna make it better in the long run. And if you're starting to irritate someone who plays a tank, that usually you're crossing some lines there that you really need to be aware of, because tanks are usually pretty comfortable with other tanks. They're usually really relaxed. They're not usually going to be on your ass all day. If someone who tanks regularly, if somebody who plays a main tank is getting on your ass, you are doing something that you gotta fix. And that's the big thing. When you get told something by a main tank, do it. We've been doing it for a long time. We know what we're talking about. Second, not knowing your moves. This is another big problem I have. I go in with tanks and they don't know their moves. And so they pull a whole mob, and I'm taking hate on other classes. Taking hate on a range is understandable at times, but taking a hate on something like a monk or a dragoon, not so understandable, or even a ninja. Samurai at level 50 is understandable. Pre-50 is not really understandable. That's because a lot of tanks I've ran into don't read their moves. They don't understand the AoE, and they don't understand that realistically, being a tanking is not that. Your moves itself is not hard. The hard part of being a tank is not the attack, it's the defensive. And that's the thing, when you're a tank, you are defensive, not offensive. So if you're sitting there, you know, oh, I'm gonna just sit there and constantly attack, boom, 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 boom. I'm gonna worry about my attacks, I'm gonna worry about doing damage, you're gonna fail, okay? You're not about the damage, you are about holding and cooldowns. So, don't worry about doing damage. If you want to be a tank that does damage, go warrior. They do a lot of damage. But you're going to sacrifice your defensive cooldowns, which means you better be ready to learn how to rotate those cooldowns, which is going to be a lot harder than a paladin. So these are some major problems I come with tanking. I'm not going to add aggro or anything like that, because that's just skill, not a problem. So much a problem, but experience and skill. Problems are things that shouldn't ever be a problem. So, not listening to veteran tanks, not reading your moves. Oh, another one. Threatening not to do your job. If a DPS pulls more than you, that does not give you an excuse to say, oh, I'm not going to do my job. No, dude. You do your job, regardless. If a DPS pulls ahead of you and they die, that's on them. But you don't just not do your job. Being a tank does not automatically give you the right to be an asshole. You're a tank. So, you do your job regardless. Those are pretty big problems. Make sure that if you're going to be a tank, do that. Don't get so upset. If you fail, you fail. You make a mistake, you make a mistake. That's part of learning to be a tank. No tank in this game came into this game and tanked perfectly. We all died, we all wiped, we all failed, we all made mistakes. That's how you become a better tank. Learn from your mistakes, fix it, apologize to the party. If you wipe the party, apologize. And at the same time, don't let people talk trash to you. Don't let people berate you at the same time. Say, hey, you know, I'm new, I'm still learning. If I make a mistake, please feel free to tell me what it is. But please have some respect, as I'm learning this class and you're not playing a tank. And if you played a tank, any advice is welcomed, but don't sit here and berate me. So I mean, have a bit of confidence and don't quit just because you keep getting yelled at. So let's go ahead and go into some basic tanking etiquette. Now, there's a great video I'm going to put in the description, well actually in the comments when I go to my computer on this. It's about a 4-minute video, and I love the video. I sent it to all my friends who are learning to tank. We'll go over this in pretty good summary, but I'm going to cover it again. Number 1, cooldown rotation. Never stack cooldowns, and never just use your cooldowns on bosses. Cooldowns are mostly for trash mobs, and if you're pulling one mob at a time, you don't need cooldowns. So that's why you're supposed to pull 2 or 3, or as many as you can handle, so you can use the cooldowns and keep yourself alive. Again, make sure the healer can handle it. Communicate with your healer, talk with them, say, hey, can you handle this? Can you deal with this? Is it okay for me to pull big? If they say yes, pull big. If it's too big, pull back off a bit. I will sometimes challenge my healers. If I get a healer that's like, oh, don't pull too big, I will challenge them a bit by pulling slightly big. I won't pull what I normally would. And if they do complain, I will tell them, this is a small pull for me. Because it usually is. And healers, again, are a class that aren't going to get better unless they're challenged, just like a tank. Most healers are going to tell you to pull big, though. So, proper reduction of your cooldowns. My normal, just for you guys know, my paladin would usually be Sentinel, followed by a Rampart and a Convalescence, and then a Passage of Arms, and if they're still up, I'll finish off with a Bulwark. If I'm pulling a huge, I always start with Hollowed Ground. But if it's not a massive pull, it's usually that rotation. That gives me a total of 15, 20, 18, and 10. So like 25, 45, almost a full minute. It's almost a full minute of cooldowns. So usually the party can handle it. It depends on how fast the DPS is burning. So as we went over communication, talking with your party, cooldowns, positioning. The most annoying thing you can do is when you're tanking a mob, say this is the boss right here, running around, running the mob around, okay? Nobody can get their positions. You've got to get your positions. If you're running around, nobody's getting the positions and everybody's getting screwed. Make sure you stay still, and we'll go over dodging AoEs in a second without losing the positions. We'll go over that later. So make sure your enemies are positioned well enough. Make sure that you're not running them into enemies. If you're standing here and a DPS or a heal comes behind you, that's on them. They moved into the bad position. That's not on you. Don't avoid, and definitely, if somebody takes aggro, don't chase it. That person needs to bring the aggro back to you so that you can simply flash it, allowing you to grab it without losing other adds. If it's a boss, you're gonna have to chase the boss, but if you're losing hate on a boss, there's a real problem there. Adds are usually when you lose hate. Just stay here and flash. So positionings, make sure everyone can get their positions, make sure you're not putting everyone in AoEs. The last one, this is more for raids, when you have two tanks, is tank swaps, okay? Now they gave the ability Shirk, which realistically we shouldn't need. You should not need Shirk. But they put Shirk because a lot of people just can't seem to handle tank swaps. I don't understand why. It's not that hard to tank swap personally, but people can't handle it, so they added it in here. So I want to talk about tank swaps real fast. When you're swapping with a tank, if you're the main tank and you're gonna swap, and the swap is coming up, as soon as you see them provoke, change stances, wait a few seconds, and then start hitting. And if you're on a warrior or a dark knight or a paladin, do not use your aggro combo if you can avoid it. It's no reason to use your aggro combo on a warrior. I know it does a slightly bit more damage, but the one that does your healing, I think that's Storm's Path, gives you more of your beast gauge, which means more fell cleaves. So it's better to use that to get more fell cleaves than to use Butcher's Block for the little bit of extra damage. So if you switch, you give it 3 to 5 seconds, and then you just go in with a DPS combo and not your aggro combo, which is easy because Paladins have Royal Authority and Going Blade, Dark Knight has Soul Eater, Warrior has Storm's Path and Storm's Eye. You should never take hate again. If you're going in for the tank swap, make sure you go to the correct stance, do a provoke, and do a move that gives increased enmity. You have Shield Lob, Tomahawk, and Unmend. Both give you increased enmity. Start with that, maybe boost your damage if you have a damage up available, like a Fight or Flight or Berserk, hit that. And then go into your DPS combo. Into your DPS combo 3 to 5 times to ensure you have your enmity combo on a paladin, that'd be Rage Up alone, 3 or 4 times before you decide to go into DPS. Make sure you have the hate. And always watch the bars up at the top area. Right here, watch these bars. If you see them going down, make sure you switch to an enmity combo and get off your DPS combo. Use DPS if you got good hate. If you're losing hate, switch. And as a Dark Knight, you can empower your aggro combo, making it even easier to keep hate. So, tank swapping is actually very simple. If you're going from main tank, wait 3 to 5 seconds, then go to start DPSing. If you're going into the main tank, provoke your Shield Lob, Unmend, or Tomahawk, and then go into your DPS, your aggro combo a couple times. Very simple situation. As long as both tanks are doing their job, there's no problem. If either tank is not doing their job though, that's when there's a problem. Or there's an extreme difference in gear level for some reason. Which leads us to our next section, role abilities. Now there are I have a lot of people that I was running with a friend of mine who's starting out tank right now and missed some very important role abilities. So I want to go over role abilities since this goes for all 3 tanks again. There are 3 required role abilities, and those are Rampart, Provoke, Convalescence. You need those 3 abilities. No ifs, ands, or buts. You need those 3. Now, if you're just starting out tanking, I would suggest taking Ultimatum over Shirk, as you're probably leveling and doing dungeons. Shirk is useless in dungeons. Ultimatum is a AoE provoke. So if you're having problems with holding enmity in a dungeon, Ultimatum is very useful for you. It also does give you a second provoke on a 9-second timer, and so it does work. For any other class, you could take Low Blow, which is a nice stun. Paladin has Shield Bash, so I would actually go for Interject instead to give my Paladin a silence as well. I would avoid Reprisal as it's a 5 seconds and it has a 60-second cooldown. It's completely useless in my opinion. Shirk is probably one of the more useful ones, but if you have good tank swapping, it won't be used really ever needed. Anticipation is good for leveling if you need that extra cooldown, but once you get used to your cooldown rotation, you can get rid of Shirk like I did. Awareness is actually pretty good for raiding, so you might switch your stun or your silence if you're using a silence on Paladin for awareness for runs, for bosses and everything to help that reduced chance of suffering critical damage. It's not a great cooldown, it's more of a luck-based cooldown I would say, but it can still save your life. So these 3 role abilities you need. The last 2 can really be what you feel are important. Ones I would avoid, Reprisal and Anticipation. Anticipation's okay when you're lower and you're getting used to it, but definitely avoid Reprisal. So let's go ahead and move on to this moves us on to the last part. Now we're going to start talking about actually the different classes in general. Now, right now we've talked about all the classes in once, so the first thing I want to go about is each class's specialty. Let's start with Paladin. Paladin is a survivor. They have a lot of cooldowns. They have a shield which is almost a natural cooldown. That is a damage mitigator. This class specialty is mitigating damage. If you want to choose a tank that will survive easier, you go with the Paladin. This is also the only class that I will ever do massive pulls on due to their survivability and what I'm comfortable with. Because of Hallowed Ground, I will do a huge pull on a Paladin. I will never pull as big on Dark or Warrior because they don't have Hallowed Ground. This is the class that I am honestly most comfortable with due to its survivability, and I like to do huge pulls. This is also going to be the main tank. If you are a Paladin, you should be main tanking. One thing that annoys me is when I get a Paladin that goes in saying that he can do more damage than a Warrior or a Dark and blah blah blah. Okay, maybe you can do more damage than a Warrior or a Dark that doesn't know their job. But if you go in saying that you can do more damage than a Warrior or Dark in general, that's not true. And putting a Dark or Warrior on main tank is kind of a messed up situation for healers as they don't have the cooldowns. On a tank, it's not so much about the damage, especially Paladin about the damage, it's more about Paladin survivability is higher than the rest. So Paladin specialty is definitely survivability. When we look at a Warrior specialty, specialness is damage. They're the greatest off tank ever. They do massive damage. I mean, my Fel Cleaves do like 17k, 10k? I think they do like 10 to 15k. And with Inner Release, I can pop off 6 of them at 10k. That's a lot of damage in less than 10 seconds. It's quite impressive. Plus they get a 5% damage boost, 10% damage from Maim, 20% from Storm's Eye, and then I think they get another one. They get the 20 and the 10. Is that it? Oh yeah, then they get the 5 from their stance. They get the 5 and the increased critical. So Warriors are huge damage dealers. They're really hard to learn with at first on surviving because of their lack of cooldown. Awareness actually has to go with raw intuition, so realistically you have 3 cooldowns and the clutch. Yeah, this clutch is on a much lower cooldown timer than Hallowed Ground, but in the end it's still your clutch. It still has a minute cooldown, which is kind of rough. The benefit of a warrior is if you're in tank sense, you do have Inner Beast, which is a regular cooldown almost of 20% mitigation. You have the increased healing, which makes Scholars your best friend. And with Storm's Path, you can continually heal yourself. So they do have that benefit, but again, it's not nearly as easy as a Paladin, as Paladin has more defensive mitigations, as a Warrior has more healing cooldowns. The Dark Knight is really his specialty is Enmity. He is a great aggro holder. He's great for mobs, he's great for almost anything. Survivability, like a Warrior, he has Soul Eater, except it heals you for more than the Warrior's does, really. You can empower all your moves, making them stronger. You have Blood Spiller, which does a total of 650. It's really great, and it does as much damage in tank stance. The biggest benefit of a Dark Knight is you can activate both your Grit and your Dark Side, which Dark Side will actually negates the damage penalty of Grit. So unlike other tanks where you're taking reduced damage, you do reduce damage in tank stance. Dark Knight actually eliminates that with Dark Side. And then if you have Dark Side on, it's a 20% damage increase compared to the 5% that Warriors get from their stance, and the 75 potency from auto attacks on a Paladin. So Darks actually can do some really good DPS. They can't keep up with the Warrior as well, but they're not very far behind. And with your Soul Eater combo, it's really nice, especially how you can empower that to 440. Sadly, it only absorbs HP if you're in Grid. So when you're in DPS stance, you're not getting that that heal that the Warrior actually continually can get. They have better cooldowns. As you can see, you have actually Rampart and Shadow Wall, which pretty much all classes have. You have Dark Mind, which is a good magic cooldown, and then you have the Blackest Night, which is actually really cool as it is a shield. Lasts 5 seconds, has a 15-second recast time. You can cast on you or yourself, and if the shield is completely taken out, you get half of your blood dodge, which is great, as it allows you to quickly use Blood Spiller. Your clutch, of course, Living Dead. If you have a healer who knows how to use this move correctly, it can actually be really great. And that is, you let the Living Dead hit, and then you heal to max right before Living Dead takes off. So usually around the 2-second timer. For Darks, I find White Mages are definitely the best healers because of Benediction. That really mixes great with Living Dead, as they can just wait, and instantly pop Benediction in the last 2 seconds, giving you a total of 18 seconds of invulnerability if they slightly keep you up and then let you die. It's a great use, but it requires your healer to know what they're doing. With a Warrior, I find Scholar the best healer. With a Dark, I find White Mage, and with a Paladin, I find Astrologian. Astrologian is great because they can buff the party, and they have decently good heals. Well, they have really good heals, but they don't have Benediction. White Mage is great with the Benediction and Living Dead mix. Makes the White Mage awesome with a Dark Knight. And the Scholar's shields with a Warrior are great. I've actually had no problem using Adloquim as much as I need to on a Scholar with my MP, as long as I continually rotate my cooldowns. So let's go ahead and, that's pretty much their roles, that's their specialty. And sadly with the one thing to remember about a Warrior is the Warrior gets one less roll ability because a Warrior has to have Awareness. You have to have it with one of their cooldowns to avoid taking critical damage. The other tank's Awareness isn't as required, but for Warrior it is required, meaning you actually only get one optional, which will probably be a stun, as Ultimatum isn't really required on a Warrior with Overpower. So the next thing we're going to talk about is just the pretty much their skills and traits. Now, I'm only going to go over the 4.0 and the changes in Stormblood. The first major change we had on a Paladin was that you actually got a move called Full Eclipse. Oh, sorry, Total Eclipse. This gives Paladin actual attack. Now, Total Eclipse does not build Enmity. It only gives you an attack. So you've got to remember that when you're using Total Eclipse, you're not actually gaining Enmity, and you can lose Enmity here with a Black Mage or a Red Mage. So you need to make sure that you are rotating Total Eclipse and Flash. 3 or 4 flashes, 3 or 4 eclipses, 3 or 4 flashes, and just repeat that It allows your MP to build up and your TP to build up, making it very useful. The second change we had was Sheltron. Sheltron now uses your Oath Gauge cost, but it is pretty much on it's on only a 5-second cooldown, meaning it's much more available for when you need it. Sheltron should only be used on tank busters. That's it. Only a tank buster. If the boss has no tank busters, then whatever. But if the boss has tank busters, you need to use Sheltron on that tank buster. So that was a big change. What else was changed? I don't think anything else was really changed that much. Oh, cover is much better as it is now. Yeah, there was nothing else. So let's see the new moves. Intervention. Now you can actually macro intervention and cover and Sheltron together because they actually share the same Oath Gauge cost. And Sheltron is for yourself, intervention is for somebody else. So if you're not targeting a party member, you'll automatically use Sheltron. If you're targeting a party member, you'll use intervention. You just got to make sure that you put intervention first and then Sheltron second in the macro. I will show that macro in a bit. Intervention is reduces damage by 10%. Reduces damage that party member takes by 10%, and then it can increase damage reduction by another 50% of the effect of Rampart or Sentinel, sorry. So in other words, if you use Rampart, it puts it to 20%, and Sentinel puts it to 30% mitigation. So intervention is actually a great one, especially if it's going to go on your healer. You see a damage hitting your healer. I try to pop it. If it's like stacked damage and not enough people are stacked, I'll usually try and get on the healer to keep the healer up. Holy Spirit is great, but not as OP as some people think. Some people seem to think this skill is overpowered. It's not. It's great and it serves its purpose, but it is not an equivalent. It does not equal Fell Cleaves and Warriors. This is great because it increases your Oath Gauge by 20 every time you use it. However, its real purpose doesn't come till 68 when you get Requeest. Now, Requeest allows, if you use it at your max MP power, it does the most damage, and then it also increases your damage potency by 20%. I mean, this is no longer 440, but 480. So pretty much you pop Requeest, and then you should pop 5, you have enough time to pop 5 Holy Spirits. That will get your Oath Gauge cost to 100, allowing you to either you have a Sheltron or an Intervention available. And you can pop that every minute. So every minute, you can do about 5 every minute. And you might be able to pop out 6 if you want that extra damage, but it's really, for me, the damage isn't enough for me to upkeep it. The coup de grace for Paladin, I'm sure some of you have seen, is called Passage of Arms. Now this is a great move, and this gives Paladin a 4th cooldown they can rotate. A big problem I see with this is I only see Paladins really use Passage of Arms on like raid-wide damage. It doesn't make sense. If you have enmity, if you have a whole mob and you flashed 5 or 10 times and you've used Sentinel and Rampart, it's giving you a total of 30 seconds, enough time to build a good enough enmity. Passage of Arms is a great cooldown as you get that 100% block rate, which is a 24% damage mitigation depending on your shield or whatever. That makes it better than Rampart, as you now block magic damage. And if you rotate yourself just perfectly, you can actually give yourself that 100% block chance and reduce everyone else's damage by 15% if there's AoEs. It's a great cooldown to actually use regularly. Yes, you should use it on bosses for the raid-wise damage, but you should also use it for mobs. It's a cooldown. Use it. The traits we have, of course, were an improved cover, where you take reduced damage with people you cover, and then Divine Magic Mash, which just gives you the, which is actually, oh yeah, this is amazing. This is actually amazing. Halves MP cost of all spells while preventing costing interruptions, which means you can now heal regularly and you won't get interrupted. It also reduces the cost of your spells, allowing you a lot more flashes, a lot more Holy Spirits, which is actually extremely beneficial, and a lot more of Clemency. So that's pretty much the Paladin at 4.0, level 70. It's a great class. I love this ability. It's probably my favorite ability in the entire game. But it's definitely a great class. So we're going to go and hop onto Dark Knight and talk about Dark Knight's changes for 70. The biggest change for a Dark Knight, if you were playing a Dark Knight and you stopped because of, dark side draining the MP was an issue, Dark side no longer drains MP for attacks. You do have to use MP for the empowered attacks, to use Dark Arts, and you do not regain MP like you did before, but you don't use MP. which is really nice. So it takes away that MP drain. Of course, you get the black blood bar, which I'll go over that in a bit. And our first two traits, so you get the black blood bar, and then of course you get the enhanced black blood, which whenever you use blood weapon or blood price, your blood gauge goes up by a specific amount depending on the skill. Jobs. So let's take a look at some of the new jobs. Soul Eater is no longer 100%, but it's been increased by damage. And what happens with Soul Eater actually heals you for as much damage as it deals. So if you deal 3,000 or 6,000, it's going to heal you for 3 or 6,000. I'm sorry. The damage the enemy actually takes, not you deal. So if the enemy takes 3,000, the enemy takes 6,000, you get healed for that. But if the enemy's already almost dead and has only 500 hit points left, you're only get healed for 500. So that's a big thing to remember about that one. You can, of course, oh yeah, and it increases your blood gauge by 10%. This is the only move that increases blood gauge by 10%. I do wish Power Strike did, as it would be nice for the Power Strike to do it, but it does not. You can use Dark Arts with this for increased enmity, do remember that. The other big change was Siphon Strike. Siphon Strike can now be empowered as well to 390, which means if you use Siphon Strike and Soul Eater, it can be a pretty big combo. The other thing is that the amount of mana that Siphon Strike restores in Grit has been increased a lot. So you get a lot more mana now in Grit. You actually get enough mana to use Dark Arts. So every time I use Siphon Strike while I'm in Grit, I will gain that 2,400 mana, meaning I can continually empower Soul Eater. No reason not to have your Soul Eater empowered, and then when you come to having enough black blood, you can use Carven Spit to get some quick MP, and then use 2 empowered Blood Spillers, and then empowered Soul Eater, pop Blood Weapon, regain your MP. The new skills we got. They changed Delirium. So Delirium is no longer what it was. They took away Reprisal, they took away our stun, and they changed Delirium. That is somewhat sad, as I like that, as well as Dark Dance being gone is sad. But what Delirium does now is it extends the time of Blood Weapon or Blood Price. Blood Weapon by 8 seconds, Blood Price by 16 seconds. It costs 50 of the blood gauge cost, but it is pretty effective. Quietist costs 50 of the blood gauge and delivers it's an AoE with attack of 160 to all enemies. It can be empowered to 210, that's an AoE of course. Big thing is it restores MP per enemy hit. So if you're really surrounded, it's great for restoring your MP. Blood Spiller, this is our big single attack. If you're in Dark Arts and Grit, it has a total potency of 650, which makes its potency in Grit and out of Grit the same. Meaning this is the move you can use either in Grit or out Grit and you don't lose damage on it, which is great. A big difference from a Warrior where you don't have Fell Cleave and you don't get that extra damage when you're in tank stance. Meaning if you want to be quickly, you have to go to become a Warrior tank and DPS stance and learn how to do that. Blood Spill is a great move, I really enjoy it. The last one is the Blackest Night. This creates a barrier for 20% of your maximum HP around you or 10% around a party member. It lasts for 5 seconds, costs 2,400 mana, and the recast is 15 seconds. It's usually pretty easy to upkeep. The big thing about this one is if you're off tank, pop it on your main tank when they're about to take a tank buster, or pop it on you for tank busters. It's practically a shell drawn now. That doesn't require Oath Gauge. And the cool thing is when you lose, when the shield is broken, if the shield is broken, you gain 50% of your blood gauge, meaning when you pop it on off tanks, you're almost always guaranteed to get a blood spiller, which is great. So that covers really covers the Dark Knight level 70 skills. So let's go take a look at the new Warrior skills. Warrior got some great skills, and some not so great skills. So the first thing, let's go take a look at some traits. The big traits you got was Enhance Infuriate, which is really great. Whenever you use Inner Beast, Still Cyclone, Fell Cleave, or Decimate, you reduce the Infuriate recast time by 5 seconds when it lands. So that's actually going to be really useful when we talk about that rotation on a Warrior in a bit. The new skills we got in a Warrior, you got Onslaught, which allows you to actually run into the enemy, which is something a Warrior was missing. Warriors did not have a gap closer like the Dark Knight does, or a knockback resistant like the Paladin does. They have that now. The upheaval is now just a quick OGCD, and it costs 20 of the beast gauge, and it deals a potency of 300, decreases as your HP decreases, and I'm not sure if it increases if you have your HP increased by Thrill Battle. Shake It Off. This one is supposed to be changed, so we're not even going to worry about it, because really it's kind of useless right now. It can get rid of heavy, but it's really just gets rid of all detrimental effects. But I really haven't found it all that useful. So, and what I understand is they're going to be changing it, so we're not going to worry too much about that one. This is the coup de grace of the warrior now. This halves the beast gauge cost, nullifies sleep, stun, bind, heavy, knockback, and drawn effects, and can only be used under the effect of deliverance, and it shares a recast time with Unchained. And sadly, I don't think this one has the same thing, sadly, or I wish it did. Anyways, with Inner Release, you're able to pop off 6 Fell Cleaves and an Upheaval. A Fell Cleave has a total damage of 500, so that right there is 3,000, plus the 300 here, 3,300 damage. And that doesn't include the, you know, the 35% increased damage from being in Deliverance, and then the 30% from Berserk. So it's a good 65% increased damage on that. It's a lot of damage. The way you really want to use it is you get your bar to full, you do your first combo, you want to do your first hit, I believe, you do 2 Fell Cleaves and an Upheaval, then you redo Maim, then you do your last 4, and you do Infuriate, and then you do your last 4 Fell Cleaves. It's important to have 2 Fell Cleaves at max damage, as that's going to give you that is most definitely going to give you the increased crit. Because if the crit reduces by the amount of beast gauge you have, you're going to actually have reduced crit for more Fell Cleaves compared to more crit on the Fell Cleaves. So that's pretty much all the class's level 70 abilities. There's really nothing. I mean, if you've watched the 6.0 guide, if you've been tanking for a while, that's pretty much it. What I can suggest for 1 through 60 is take the time to look through those moves on your own. They're pretty self-explanatory, they're not going to be changed, and if you're tanking, you're going to have time to work on that. So the next thing we're going to talk about is pretty much just tanking in general. Dungeon tanking versus raid tanking, okay? When you're on a dungeon tank, your priorities are speed, the pulls, your cooldown reduction, and where to stand. That means how fast are you pulling? Are you pulling too fast, too slow? How are you pulling? Are you grabbing everything? If you run by, you just shield off 1 or 2 things, but you don't actually grab everything, your heal's gonna die before you stop, and it's a fail. You've gotta pull correctly, and I will demonstrate that in a bit. Are you rotating your cooldowns correctly? If you're not rotating cooldowns correctly, you're gonna die. Your heal can't keep you up. I mean, I heal my Scholar, I was working on a healer, and I was doing a level 60 dungeon, had no problem. Did a level 51 Rush Palace, and I couldn't keep the healer up, the tank up, and I found out he didn't have his cooldowns, which was very infuriating. And that's why he was dying with me spamming my cures. You have to have your cooldowns, or things are going to kill you. And then, of course, in dungeons, where to stand. You gotta have your trash at the right area, so that they don't, go off and kill everything. The second thing, the other thing you gotta look at is boss tanking. When you're in a boss tank, you've got to position correctly. You've got to make sure that, first of all, when you pull a boss, you got the pull correct. That's number 1, is the pull. Big thing is tanks might stand here and pull. No. If say my retainer is the boss. Let's go there. Okay. We're standing here. There's the boss is facing us. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run. I'm going to shield lob, run through him, turn around, and start my combo. I'm going to run through him so that the rest of my party can just immediately go into damage. If I stop here, my party has to run around him. My healer's standing back here, which means if there's AoE, my healer has to move and can't heal me because they're moving. It's just a lot of work for everyone else when I could have just ran right through him. This is also the same when you're dodging AoEs. When you're dodging AoE, don't run all the way over here. Just run through, run as far out as you can without going too far. So like if the AoE is, say, let's just fire something quick so I can demonstrate what I mean. Oops, wrong button. Waymarks. Say the AoE is right here. I'm not going to run over here. I'm going to run right out of it so that I can immediately give right back to where I need to be. And that's pretty much what you gotta remember. When you're tanking, you don't run as far as you can. You've gotta be as close to the boss, because as far as you run, as soon as the boss finishes that move, they're gonna move to you. So if I'm right here, he might take 2 or 3 steps forward. If I'm right here, he might take 3 steps this way, and I just run past him, he turns again. But if I'm over here, he's gonna move all the way to me, and everyone has to adjust. Lost DPS, and DPS hate having their DPS lost. Just better for everyone. That's how you dodge without losing your position. And then of course, cooldown rotation on a boss is different from mobs. On mobs, it's more important to make sure you're constantly rotating these cooldowns so that you're getting hit by less enemies when you have no cooldowns. On a boss, it's more about knowing if they have a tank buster or not. When they have a tank buster, it's about popping a cooldown on that tank buster. And sometimes you're going to stack Sheltron and Rampart and Sheltron and Sentinel, depending on, if it's one of those tank busters that increases damage you take. So you've got to realize that the rotation for cooldowns on a boss and a dungeon are not the same, and you've got to adjust for the 2 fights. You've got to run through the boss. You've got to make sure the boss you're at the edge of the arena. Don't put the boss, too near. Don't stand here. Don't have the boss come to you. Move through him. And depending on the arena, sometimes the boss is in the middle, sometimes the boss is at the edge. If you can hold the boss at the edge, keep the boss at the edge. That's the best bet. That's pretty much it. That's all it takes to be a tank. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to have one of my friends come with me real quick for a run so that I can demonstrate positioning and how you position for DPS. So let me go ahead and underlevel this, as we don't have a healer, and this is just a demonstration. Let's see, we'll do Wanderer's Palace. It's an easy enough one. This is a great one. This is a great one to train on, by the way. This is a great training dungeon, and I'm going to show you what I mean. Alright, so we don't have a healer. He can't really stand it. If he's gonna get hit, he's gonna die at level 60. So it's up to me to keep everything. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna communicate with him. Make sure he's ready to run. Make sure everyone's ready to go. Because I want to ensure that everything's good to go. If you don't get a reply, you can always ready check. That's great Chang to do. I don't want to run, because that's the worst thing. If you start running and heal's not ready, it's always a wipe, okay? So everyone's ready to go. So now I'm going to start pulling. I'm going to go and use my sprint. Go and run past this, because, if you run past fast enough, you can avoid that. Grab this. Move forward. Get to the next mob. Grab. This is the usual stopping place for this one, by the way. So if you've never run this and you have people stopping here, that's why. Okay? So these new ones came up. They're all on me. I'm going to position. We're going to position now. I've done enough flashes. I'm going to switch to my full eclipse. Do a bit of damage. Watching the aggro bars. This guy's most up, so I might focus him for a bit. I forgot to put tank sense on. Always make sure you have tank sense on. That actually can be one that you forget when you go into dungeons. Sprint. Flash. Shield lob. Flash. 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 Here, position. Pop Sentinel, so I have that. So we need a second of Scorn, switch into Enmity. Start popping increased damage. Do another flash, and now I'm going to switch to attack. Now, of course, me being level 70, him being level 60, there's no way he can take my hate normally. If I barely move out of the AoEs, and I come right back. This is to keep him in a good position. Now that that's done, we go to the first boss. This is where you demonstrate. This is where you learn. This is how you do a boss. Again, I want to wait till everyone's ready. Do a quick ready check. Make sure everyone's ready to go. And then run in. So start with a melee, with a DPS combo, and then start with an aggro combo. You try to do aggro, and then switch to DPS when I'm comfortable. Now this boss has no tank buster, so I really don't need to worry about cooldowns on this boss, because there's no tank buster. On a side note, if you're tanking, you really shouldn't need to have to ready check every time a boss is dead. Don't stop. I have seen that where tanks will stop after a boss. Don't stop. Just keep going. You're wasting time. Just keep going, and if someone decides to go AFK, that's kind of on them. No one should be going AFK once you've done a ready check. I did the ready check. Everyone's ready. No one should go AFK. And it happens sometimes, but that's not on them. That's on the person who decided that they would go AFK without telling anybody. And I've had that happen. So it will happen. And if it happens, don't stress out on it. I mean, it's just, that's on them. And most people are going to understand that that's on them. Unless you're running with a group of people who are friends, in which friends always defend each other, I've learned. I mean, I won't, I'll tell my friends straight up if they screw up. Because that's how you get better. Now the reason I chose Wanderer's Palace is it is the easiest one to demonstrate on, and I don't really want to, I mean, without a healer, I don't really want to do one that I need a healer on. And if I have to pop cooldowns, I'm probably going to have to have a healer. That's why it's not really one that's going to have cooldowns as much. Now hopefully my friend will know to hit this switch, but I'll let him know in case. Alright, I walk into here. This, right? Run. Now this is where it's going to be really rough, is this, are the ads back here. Ranged ads are the worst to deal with, as they just enjoy not standing near you. So what you gotta do here is you gotta position, you gotta run past them and then run back to them. And then come back in. And then you kill them. As for that, if you don't know this dungeon, you really can't do anything about that. These stone bears, they can't be hit. The switch. Also, learn your moves. Another thing, you should make sure you understand boss moves. There are times when bosses will just change aggro, and it can't be controlled. So learn when those moves are, so you're not trying to chase the boss down when they have focused aggro, because that's something you can't avoid. And it's just better to be where you want the boss to come back to, because as soon as the boss finishes attacking them, they're going to go back to their original spot. Now, because we've been running, I'm not worried about not really worried about ready check here. Again, they should be ready, and if everything's ready to go, they should be ready. Bosses add, just make sure you do something to get that add real fast. Then you can switch back to your combos. Make sure you at least hold them though, because that is a big thing. Alright. Again, just double check, make sure everyone's ready. Okay, everyone's ready. We're gonna run through. Well, can't really run yet. Flash. Okay, got everything. Grab you. Grab you. If you only have 2 enemies, you can shield lob to grab them. But make sure you get everybody. That does save your MP too for flash. Again, we have AoEs, so I'm going to run past and run everyone back here. The biggest thing is that your AoEs together. That's how you have your AoEs together, and you can usually handle holding them. They have to be together, because if your AoEs separated, you're not going to be able to hold on to them. So you want to run so the AoEers all stand next to each other, and then you can bring the melee back to them. So you also have to try to position the AoE characters away from any damaged area as well. So it is a little more difficult to position the AoE classes. Alright, now we're going to go here on the boss. Hopefully he'll hit me with one move so I can use at least one of my examples of when you should use Sheltron. So this boss does have a Tank Buster. I believe it's Everybody's Grudge. This is the name of it. I believe they use that name still. I'm not really going to worry about, I've got aggro spots. I want more to explain that one. Let's just go around and kill all the ads, just so we build it up. Ah, you stop. Good pop. Normally DPS does that. You wouldn't agree with this. I just want to get this brand card built up. So you can use it. Alright. Let's use it. Okay, Everybody's Grudge. Sheltron. Okay, I'm ready to go. And as you can see, it did 25% less damage. That is how you want to use your Sheltron, your cooldown. You've got to make sure that you pop them on a boss right before Tank Buster. Now obviously for me that's not a Tank Buster, but that is the Tank Buster back at level 15. Anyways, I hope that helps some bit on how you should position and how you should switch between bosses and everything. I hope this guide has helped you. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I am on the Midgard-Stormer server. In October, they will be merging the worlds. So you will actually, if you're on the Aether data center, you'll be able to contact me if you ever have a question. I'm more than welcome to help new tanks, give advice, anything there. More even off on tanks and just new players in general. If you need help with anything, please feel free to contact me. I play a lot of different classes. I have 70 on it. You can see all my melees are 70. So if you ever need any help on any class, please feel free to contact me. I'm more than willing to help you figure out, help fine-tune your DPS, maybe with openings. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, if it helped you or anything, please like and subscribe. And I am trying to build up my subscribers. So if it helped you, subscription, like kind of always makes me feel good. Anyways, I will catch you guys later in game. Good luck on tanking and welcome to Team Tank.